What's up, everyone, and welcome to Shared Save the Game Media's weekly gaming discussion podcast. I am your host, Kevin, and on today's episode, we're talking all about Gears of War Reloaded. We're also talking about Xbox expanding cloud gaming and the future of cloud gaming. And then, are developers scared of Silksong? We'll discuss that and more. Before we get to it, got to introduce my co-host, Sam Heaney. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, man. Been pretty busy the past 48 hours. It's been kind of crazy. Most stuff I can't talk about,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, no, I feel surprisingly refreshed for how much has been going on. I don't know whether it's just getting off the back of Wu Chang. I'm just glad to see the back of it and to be
Mm-hmm.
doing different things. Probably is mostly that, but it's been some nice weather in the UK. Although to be fair, we have had torrential rain today, so swings and roundabouts. It's never too nice for that long. Yeah, I'm good though. I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. I was feeling that refreshed energy. It's been a little
Mm,
cooler, especially at night here. After about 5 p.m., it starts to get cool, which I'm loving. I love the cooler weather, but I was feeling refreshed. And then I was like, I went to my weekly soccer game, which I played a league. I was like, oh man, I'm feeling good. It's gonna be a good game. And then we lost 6-3, and I didn't play well at all. I was like, damn, I don't know what I was feeling because that certainly wasn't it. And then today I have been very frustrated, mainly due to work. I'm not going to tell everyone what my job is, but I do stuff with data, and we have to run, codes, data analysis. I have been running something for 13 hours,
mm,
and it's still not done, and I need it to finish in order to do my job. And I've been told that any second now, it's probably going to kick me off our VPN, and then I'll have to start all over. So I'm just gonna smash my computer and not come into work. So that is what it is. But I'm excited to do this show. We have some things to talk about, especially your topic. I'm really excited to give my thoughts because I've only told people that I've played the game. I haven't told anyone what I think about the game.
mm.
But why don't we get through some housekeeping and we can jump into the topics for anyone new? This is Shared Save, your weekly gaming discussion podcast. You can catch us live Thursdays here on youtube.com/save the game media. 7 p.m. Eastern time is when we go live. If you can't catch us live, plus every Sunday morning on your favorite audio platform of choice. So while you're over there, make sure to drop us that 5-star review and click a little follow. All right. I like to see the follower numbers go up. Lets us know you're interested in the content. If you want to support us even further, get early audio access to this podcast. That's 3 days early. I put it up right after this VOD goes live. So if you're like, hey, I don't like your ugly mugs. All right. I want to listen. I only want to listen to your voices. All right. Patreon.com/save the game media. $1 a month. You get exclusive bonus content like our monthly Q&A, our monthly bonus episode of Shared Save that Sam and I just recorded this past weekend is now live for everyone. And early audio access, plus your Patreon shout out. So thank you to our current supporters: Savoy Prime, Sam Hall, Todd Oxtra, Alpaca Tom, Rick Davis, Silkenet, Dave Harp, David Hotright, Lillian, the Xbox Expansion Pass, Marcus O'Neill, Brendan Myers, aka The Winter Gamer, Nikolai at Night, Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brandon, and Black Wyver. Thank you all for your support. We appreciate each and every one of you. And I see quite a few people hanging out with us in the chat tonight. I see Nissa's here, Sam Hall's here, Alpaca Tom. We got Ghostly Guides. All right, Sam, housekeeping's done. So why don't we talk about what we've been playing this week, except for one thing, which we're gonna hold for a little bit. So
Yes. Um, a lot of rattling off of things from previous weeks. There's a game that I'm playing under embargo that I can't talk about, so we'll breeze past that. Although you will inevitably hear about it in the coming weeks and months, I'm sure. Um,
probably
I
next
have
week, I imagine. Right?
well, there's lots of games coming, Kev. It could be
Okay.
anything.
Okay. Okay.
Could be
Okay.
anything.
Okay.
Um, you might not be wrong. Who knows? But I've also it sort of coincided with last week's recording because I kind of did it at the same time, really, or not long after. But I platinumed Sword of the Sea. Love that game, love it to death. The only real thing that I had left to do was a 2-hour speed run.
Yep.
So got that done pretty easily. I mean, you can't skip the cutscenes. That's really the main issue. So I was hoofing it through the game, and my timer still landed at about just over an hour and a half. So you've got like 25 minutes wiggle room if you're like really going for it fast. So you've got room for error, which is good. Yeah, so that will probably, depending on how we do Game of the Year this year, that is probably going to be in the conversation for me. So really good time. And I also platinumed, as I was expressing to you in frustration, I managed to finally platinum Star Wars Bounty Hunter.
It was a lovely time.
I still love the game, right? And like the nostalgia, it does it for me. I played the hell out of that game when I was a kid, and it's great to have it digitally and slightly up-resed that I can access whenever I want now. But yeah, the trophy, it's not even the trophy list, because the trophy list isn't that bad, and it would have mandated me doing another playthrough anyway. I think it's more the fact that the guide and the information that I was using just to make sure that I wasn't going to miss anything didn't explicitly tell me that there was going to have to be a second playthrough of sorts. So it was a realization that I had to just dedicate even more time, even if I could speed through the game. It was all like, that's annoying. But that's gone. It's out of the way. It's done.
I mean, you didn't have to do it. You could just been like, close enough to the platinum.
Kevin, you clearly do not know me well enough.
No, I don't get the whole, if the platinum requires too much effort, I'm out.
It's an addiction. I need the next hit.
One playthrough, let me collect some stuff, let me beat everything, and then we're moving on.
I mean, that's the ideal, right? That's the perfect trophy list. But I don't care. I've played some terrible stuff in my time for platinums. So,
and no difficulty options. All right, everybody putting difficulty options in there.
Just like get good, Kev.
No, I won't. I refuse.
Skill issue. Sounds like a skill issue. There's a new things. There's only been one thing outside of what we'll talk about in the topic. Partially on Nissa's recommendation last week. I said last week when she brought up in the chat that it was on my radar, and because I knew that the game that I can't talk about was going to be hitting me with a code in the next couple of days, I was like, well, I want to jump into something that isn't a massive time commitment and is maybe a bit more zen. So yeah, I started playing hurdling. That's not, with my accent, it sounds like there's an extra syllable in there. It sounds like I'm saying yodeling. Hurdling.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Okay, there we go.
Not hurdling.
But yeah, exactly. That's what I think. That's what I said.
You're nailing it. You're nailing it. Yeah.
Thank you. It's interesting. I can't say I love it. And it's not quite as zen as I thought it was going to be. It's good though. Like, I can't say that I'm not enjoying it. It's quite basic, which I think is kind of what the selling point was. And I haven't finished it, although my assumption is that I'm not that far from finishing it. So it's probably, again, similar to Sword of the Sea, maybe like 5 hours in total, which is nice. So I will circle back to it. But yeah, it reminds me, I can't remember what the name of the game. I think it might have just been called Home.
Not familiar.
It's a game where you played as a badger. And you were guiding like your litter. Let's see, game playing as a badger. Shelter, that's the game, Shelter. Which is a classic, like if you know, you know. Reminds me very heavily of that, where you are essentially in Shelter, you're a mother badger and you've got like your cubs, and you have to continually feed them when they start to become hungry, and you're guiding them through the environment to get to a place. And the biomes have lots of different hazards, and you've got like eagles swooping down trying to get you. Essentially the same here, where you're a kid and you are as you're moving towards the sort of peak of a mountain, in essence, guiding this herd of like banthas, essentially from Star Wars, like big, shaggy, horned things. And again, you've got to avoid hazards and stuff. It's a bit jank, to be honest.
You got indie energy.
Yeah, very, very heavy budget indie energy. Not that that's a bad thing. I will say the music is fantastic. And if you are into those kind of games, then absolutely. It's also got a very small amount, I don't know whether you'll appreciate this, of Bridge of Spirits in it.
Ooh, I do appreciate that. Platinum of that game.
Don't get too excited though, Kev, because I solely mean in Kenna you can like direct the rot using your staff, right? In the Pikmin sort of energy. Tangentially, it's kind of like that because you're this kid and you've got your staff, and you sort of, as the name suggests, you're herding this group of animals. So you kind of stand behind them and you have to keep pace with them. And with your staff, you're sort of
poke them.
Exactly. And you're kind of directing them in different directions based on where you stand. And you can do different commands with the staff to make them sort of move faster or stampede or stop or whatever. So, yeah, I don't quite know how I feel. I'm positive on it, but I don't think it was quite the slam dunk that I was expecting it to be.
I see Nissa in the chat saying they're loving hurdling. Also says, Sam, if you want Zen, Wander Stop, which I've heard from other people as well.
See, I've played me some Wander Stop. I was all about.
Okay.
I mean, Davey Reedon is like my guy.
Didn't do it for you.
It's fine. I didn't finish it, which is crazy to me because he wrote Stanley Parable, and Beginner's Guide is one of my favorite games of all time. And so I was super excited for Wander Stop, and it just didn't quite do it for me. I love the premise. I just think in execution, it didn't quite get there for me. I will go back to it eventually because I do want to finish it because it's David Reedon, but it is Zen though. I'll give that to Nissa. That is definitely very, very Zen.
Well, I haven't played Wander Stop. I haven't played Hurdling. I have heard a lot about Hurdling though. So this is something that podcasts I've been listening to, people have been picking this game up. I don't know what, and not just through Game Pass. I know it's on Game Pass, but I've been people saying they've been playing on Switch, PlayStation. I've seen a few people. So this game is getting out there. I don't know if it's done well financially, but people, at least in my sphere, are in on hurdling, and it's not a Kevin game. I look at it, I know that, but I am glad to see its success.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know whether it's doing relatively well, in the sort of indie space, or at least in terms of discussion, because of the predecessors games, like the games that preceded it, because Far Lone Sales and something Tides, I can't remember the name.
Far Changing Tides?
I think that's right, yeah.
I have one of them on Steam.
Those are great games. Again, very much like you probably love them or you hate them kind of thing. But this is a bit of a deviation for them, which I appreciate, but I just don't know. It wasn't quite what I was hoping it was going to be. So,
yeah, for sure. Shout out Silkenet. Thanks for stopping in. So I'll jump into what I've been playing besides the one game we're going to talk about in our first topic. I want to start with Trails in the Sky remake, or first chapter, what I want to call it. The demo. I played the demo. It's a few hours long. Gets you through the prologue of the game. Now, Trails in the Sky is a game that came out, I don't know, 30 years ago or something. Pixel art. It's available on Steam, and that's where it's currently locked to, unless you have a PSP. I think it's on there as well. But this is the first, it's a full-blown 3D, very Final Fantasy VII-esque remake. Hey, we made this a modern game, right? And I gotta tell you, I am absolutely in love with it. I knew listen, I love the Trails games, even though Trails Through Daybreak 2, not the best one in the series. This though, I already love the first Sky. Seeing 3D character models added voice acting. They've changed some of the script, added so many quality of life features like improved fast travel capabilities. Combat now has the whole metaphor-esque where you can do action first and then go into turn-based at any time. But they've added so many things that just make the combat feel better. The visuals, the acting, everything is just so stunning. And I'm just sitting there. I beat the prologue and I was like, I want to keep playing. I don't want to have to wait a few weeks. So I love it. If you are not in on the Trails games and you are a JRPG fan, highly recommend. This is a perfect jumping in point because this is the first game in the series. So it's not like, hey, they're 13, 14 games deep at this point. Where do you jump in? Jump in here, and then you can either wait for more remakes to come out because I assume they're going to do Sky 2, Sky 3, and then maybe Zero and Crossbell. But after that, they get to the 3D games that are already out there, so you could easily just play those and you wouldn't feel like a big drop in quality because Falcom is a 70-person studio. It's not like these games are being revolutionized every time. They're pretty similar throughout. Like a lot of reused assets or Yakuza like. You'll see a lot of similar things. So if you are, like I said, into JRPGs, highly recommend. You can play that on Switch. We'll Switch to if you want to pay the $1 upgrade, which I think we made fun of in our bonus episode. PS5 and then PC. It's on. The other game I want to talk to you about is Void Breaker. So this is a game that we got to send a code thanks to PlayStack. They reached out and was like, hey, you want to check this out? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. So it is, I think it's an early access game officially, but I do think it officially like came out at Gamescom. Was it Gamescom? Might have been Gamescom. So this is a first person roguelite shooter. And I gotta say, playing on my PC, getting 240 FPS. It plays. Swear to God, my frames were just solid. I was like, this is gonna dip. Nah. This game runs so well and visually stunning. Like it just looks beautiful to play this whole game. I was like, wow, really impressed with the optimization going on here. The game is really smooth. I'm trying to think of something like Ghost Runner. If you I want to say I would compare it to something like Ghost Runner, where it feels snappy. Like you have to be dialed in though, right? Like you got your it's almost got like a bullet hell aspect to it, where so many things are coming at you at once. You have upgrades you can get throughout the level. So each level you go into will consist of almost little islands, like about 9 islands. Get to the end, there's like a boss. And at the end of each island, you'll get a little upgrade. Things will be like, oh, you'll get like plasma ammo, or if you reload, you'll get a stagnant shield that'll block some of the bullets coming in. Things like that to improve your gameplay as you go on throughout the islands, try to give you a better chance to beat the game. I will say very difficult. I have not beat any of them yet. I don't know if I am bad. I know I'm bad, but like I was finding it very difficult. The game has this mechanic where you can only heal if you stagger the enemy before you kill them. And the way you stagger them is you have environmental damage. So if you throw a grenade, you can blow up the environment and drop it on them, and it'll stagger the enemies, and then you can kill them, get healed. Or you can grab an item and like chuck it at it with almost control-esque telekinesis powers. Right. So, like I said, feels really good. I thought all that was awesome, like visually to look at, felt really responsive. I have no qualms with the game. I just know that a roguelite is not my preferred style. Like I wish there was almost a linear version of this game, because I would play the heck out of it, because it plays so well, it looks so good, and the story is interesting because you get almost indentured servitude to this like robot overlord, and you're trying to break free from his control. Essentially, he tells you have to work off like 999 million hours or something you're never gonna be able to do, right? Sam, I see you're dying over there. You got a little fizzy in your lungs there, my friend.
No, it wasn't even anything to do with the drink. I just, for some reason, something has happened in the back of my throat. Who knows?
Well, rest in peace, Sam. Yeah, but no, I will. I didn't play it long, maybe an hour or so, just because I did a few runs, and I was like, this game is awesome, but also it's not my style of game. So I recommend it if you're into fast paced first person roguelite shooters for sure. And I know Alpaca Tom was in the chat says Void Runner or Void Breaker is sick. I finished my first run yesterday. It doesn't have achievements on Xbox. It has achievements on Steam. I was playing on Steam. It has 11 achievements because I was popping them. So there are achievements on the Steam version, but I was very impressed. Highly recommended.
Yeah, cool. It will be something that I probably do check out at some point. It's not on PlayStation yet, right?
I don't.
If it's
Probably
early
not because
access,
it's
it
early
won't be.
access. Yeah, and they
Yeah.
don't. You have to be a very special privilege to. So yeah, it's on Xbox and PC. It looks like. I don't
Yeah.
think it's on
I assume
PlayStation.
like a 1.0 release, it'll probably come to other if it doesn't at that point, it will be something that I do just pick up on PC. I'll be stubborn and wait just to
It
see.
has a 2026. I'm looking at the PSN store. It says 2026. You can add it to your wish list on PSN.
There we go.
Yeah. So when it does drop,
I'll be
keep
there.
an eye out. Yeah. I think you'll like it. I think you would like it for sure.
Yep.
You good there, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good now.
Okay. Well, that's all I've been playing. So why don't we jump into topic number one? We're going to start with your topic because and then we're going to talk a little bit more about a game we both played, and that's Gears of War Reloaded. So why don't you take it away?
Yeah. So got a physical copy, PS5, Gears of War Reloaded,
Disgusting.
crazy times. I there's not been a lot of news this week for PlayStation, so I was sort of thinking, what do I want to talk about? And I wrapped up a playthrough sort of around this time yesterday, and not the first time I played Gears. For clarity, I played through 1, 2, and 3 on one of my friends' 360s in the mid 2010s. I have mixed feelings.
Okay.
Far more mixed than I was expecting.
Yeah, I would love to know. Yeah, let's do our review discussion first, and then we can jump into the actual broader topic that you suggested. So I would love to know your mixed feelings.
So like in a general sense, it's cool to see the game on PlayStation. It looks pretty good. You know, I think that like I didn't play Ultimate Edition or anything, so this is the most special I've seen it look. And I think control wise it works well. I like the haptics in the controller. That's really cool. When you're ripping with the chainsaw, like that's pretty sick. As good as you thought it would feel.
Yeah, I bet.
But it's just not in great shape. At least in my experience. It's not by no means like a buggy mess, but there were some pretty glaring issues throughout the entirety of my playthrough that I think tainted my experience overall. I mentioned a few of them in the Discord, like I think the AI is just pretty trash. I can't remember what the AI was like in previous versions of the game, but I don't remember it being this bad. Maybe that's rose-tinted glasses. Like, I also can't say that the commanding the squads worked at all. I was pushing the inputs to regroup, and every single time they were like, "No, I can't," or they just didn't reply. Enemies were either just standing out in the open waiting to get shot, or they would just sort of bum rush you and shotgun you with a Nasher, and you're like, "Oh, okay, fair enough." There wasn't really much strategizing there. I didn't have any visual glitches. That's good, I suppose. But then I had some like soft locking, essentially. I mentioned one where in the sequence when you're in the vehicle riding along the destroyed bridge and you're using the UV turret, there's just multiple points on that bridge that just like don't exist, and you can just kind of fall through or get stuck in.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And it's not like I was actively looking for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was just driving along and I got hit in the exact same spot twice. Where I had to restart. And yeah, I mean, like I've seen as well, not that it's my experience, but I've seen on Steam as well that it's got mixed reviews and people have been talking about it being quite buggy. So I'm relieved it's not just me. I think that from a PlayStation perspective, Gears of War arriving on PlayStation should have been a monumental like win. And like it is just kind of not. Which is a shame.
Have you played any of the multiplayer?
No, not yet. I will give it a go.
Okay, I'm interested to know how you feel about that, because I've heard it's not in the best shape either in terms of like stability, connection, lag.
I've also seen some like potential balancing things of. I've seen some crazy clips of people just with a Nasher from like half the map away firing one shot and downing someone. It's like, whoa. Okay. Nashers are overpowered in general.
Yeah. Shotguns are the meta for sure. We don't need sniping with them though.
Yeah.
So I mean, it sucks. I think before I give my experience, it sucks that this is a lot of people's probably first experience with Gears of War, and it isn't as polished as we know the Coalition can produce, because we've seen it already. And now I've also played through Gears of War Reloaded. I beat the game today. It took me 2 or 3 sittings. It's a very short game. It's like 5 hours long for the campaign, right? Especially if you know what to do. Like I've played Gears of War multiple times at this point in my life. So I have played the Ultimate Edition.
Right.
And I've played obviously the original. And I will say unequivocally, unless this is your only option, play one of the other ones.
Damn.
I think that this is the worst way to experience Gears of War. If you can play, if you have a 360 and you want to play it there, go for it. I think you'll have a great time. The Ultimate Edition was a fantastic experience when it came out. I played through the entire thing co-op with my brother. Phenomenal. Gears of War Reloaded, I expected to be the same, just with higher resolution, higher texture, a simple remaster, kind of like I talked last week, Space Marine 1 was. That's what I expected. That is not what I got. Now, performance-wise, on my PC, runs very well. I was getting about 150 to 240 FPS, depending on the area, which is completely beautiful, run smooth to 1080p. Like texture-wise, resolution-wise, I got all the technical aspects I was looking for in terms of a remaster, right? In terms of, I don't want to phrase this, quality. I don't know. Maybe when did the Ultimate Edition come out? 10 years ago at this point.
Around, yeah.
And it was about 10 years. So every 10 years we're getting these. I don't know what's changed, but I felt like there were some points in this remaster where I was like, this does not hold up at all. My biggest grievance is the one area where you have to walk across the platforms, the wood that breaks. I swear that I'm like, okay, they're different colors, right? Like, so I'm like, if I walk there, it'll break. No. I don't know if they messed up the texture patterning or what, but like, it didn't matter what the wooden boards looked like. They could just break. And I was getting very frustrating. Like, just keep falling over. That's a simple thing where I'm like, okay, you have to slow walk over it every time, then go. That's just something that I'm like, okay, this section doesn't hold up very well. I don't know if the car and the UV light also holds up, especially in single player, where in co-op, one person mans the light and you can just like much better experience. Having to switch back and stop and manual, like showing your age a little bit. I can look past all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I can't look past is the number of bugs I experienced throughout this playthrough. And it sounds like I had a worse experience than maybe what you did, Sam, because I had constant soft locking where I would have to reload, when I have to reload checkpoints. I would have to go and shoot my teammates, or so some of them were funny, right? Like the first time you encounter a berserker,
Mm-hmm.
you have to get him to come through this like little narrow passage through another doorway, right? And Dom is there with you, and I'm standing there waiting for him to charge. Yeah, I'm waiting for him to charge at me, and nobody's coming. So I go, "What's going on?" So I walk backwards to like where the berserker was. I turn the corner. The berserker is standing there just chilling. Dom's just chill. Like they're not fighting. They're literally just standing there together, like hanging out. And I'm like, what the hell is this? So I'm like shooting the berserker. Nothing's happening. Eventually I got him to respond, but that was a very frustrating. Like, do I have to reload? Second level in the game. This is when I knew I was in for a good time. The second level in the game after the tutorial, you start off on a lower platform. You walk up a stairs almost to like this cathedral-esque square area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time you have 4 squad mates, and the squad mates are like, "Oh, flank them, Marcus," or whatever. Like go around and get behind them. I'm like, okay. So I take out everyone, and I'm like, where's my squad? Like I haven't seen any. I've ran around this whole building. I'm looking for the next pathway to go somewhere, not finding any open areas. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this gate is where I'm supposed to go. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna tell them to regroup. Nobody's coming. They're yelling at me, and I'm like, where are you? So I have to do that thing like where it tells you where your squad is. I go to where they are. All 3 of them have fallen through the stairs.
Oh, no.
And I just see their little like guns poking out of they can't move. And I'm like, I have to redo this whole section now. That happened constantly. One section towards the end of the game, Dom went to vault over a mantle over something, and the animation just glitched. So he was sitting there like jittering the whole time, and I couldn't get by him because it was a one-person like mantle thing. So that is just the constant bugginess that I experienced throughout this game. It would take for like sometimes cutscenes wouldn't trigger when they were supposed to, and then you get this really awkward like you've walked by something and enemies are spawning behind you now. It's just not very well polished. The constant bugs, whether it's soft locking or just little annoyances like that, really do irritate you, especially when you're like, I know this is the location to go, but because your squad mates are just like chilling somewhere randomly in the map, the gate won't open, the door won't open, you can't kick it in, like you can't progress. Like those little markers that indicate, hey, this section of the map is done, time to move on, they just didn't trigger. And this is not what I expect from the coalition. Like they have consistently produced quality, so I'm really disappointed in Reloaded, and I honestly like I can't recommend it right now. Like if you haven't experienced Gears of War, wait until they do a few patches and fix this, and then go experience what will be the best version after they fix these things.
Yeah, and I think that sentiment kind of leads into what my question that I pose as the topic is about, which was just generally, was Reloaded a good idea? Because I think since finishing it, and obviously now hearing what your experience was like, I have had to kind of like reckon with that a little bit, because it seemed like such a slam dunk, a W for everyone. PlayStation players get to play Gears for the first time. But I can't recommend it. I have a far less extensive history with Gears.
Mm-hmm.
But for, like we've both said, what is going to be the introduction to this franchise for many, 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 many people, I think that this isn't up to snuff in various ways. And I know Tom made a joke in the Discord the other day about Gears not being great in general.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have affinity for the IP as much. I enjoyed it when I played the trilogy back in the day. I will say I don't know whether it is partially or mostly due to the technical issues and just like the state of the game. I will say playing Reloaded, I it's going to sound harsh. I can't say I really had fun.
Wow. Okay.
You know, I wouldn't go as far as Tom saying that it's like doo doo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this version of the game is currently a pretty doo doo, but like in general, Gears I don't think is bad. But there wasn't again that sort of spark and that excitement. I think that prior to Reloaded coming out, there was like a sentiment that this was going to like revitalize the Gears community,
Mm-hmm.
ignite the spark that gets people excited, getting it ready for E-Day next year.
Get a whole new set of players
That's it.
excited into the franchise. Like, eh, not to interrupt you, but
No, please.
I personally was expecting, and it still might, to sell millions on PlayStation. To see this next, whenever PlayStation does what are their top sellers for the month or whatever. Like, I expected this to be in the top 10 at least. Like, I know we have a lot of games coming out, but like the novelty,
Exactly.
of Xbox is probably second biggest IP, right? Coming to PlayStation feels to me like it should have been a bigger moment than it is. And right now, all I see are people talking negatively about the bugs and not so much about the experience. Where I know, again, Gears 1 isn't my favorite gear. I think Gears 2 is clearly the best Gears.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people have a more of an affinity for 3, but I do wonder, and this leans into your topic, if they've hurt themselves by
Yep.
not doing the remaster trilogy.
Yep. Yeah. I mean this just like categorically isn't them putting their best foot forward. And I think people overemphasize the idea that first impressions are everything, but I also think that in a way first impressions are everything. And again, like we're both saying now, it's like we're not sure if this will actually bear out in terms of like impact on sales or anything. I still expect, as you do, that it will do pretty well, if not for novelty alone. But yeah, again, I think that in theory, you want something as big as Gears
Mm-hmm.
to do as well as Forza Horizon, right? Or to
Yeah.
even get close, and I just don't see that happening with this. So it's strange. I wonder whether they should have just done a remastered trilogy, or even, frankly, if they should have just waited for E-Day.
I can understand the logic behind wanting them to be familiar with the characters ahead of time. I do think it's hard to say we're giving you one, which is good. Like I had a good time replaying and re-experiencing the game, but it did remind me, oh wow, 2 and 3 are such an improvement over what we get here, that it made me wish we got those included, especially because of character moments of building and forming bonds with those characters that you're going to see again in E-Day. I think E-Day might hit better for the new players, the new community, if they had the 3 to go through. Now it's going to be, well, I played 1, I can get a prequel to 1, and then do they do 2 and 3 after? Like, again, has 1 soured people's experience that they don't care when 2 comes out inevitably as a solo package, 3 comes out as a solo package? Because it'd be weird for Xbox to change course and then be like, hey, we're going to bundle 2 and 3 together, right? Like, that doesn't really make much sense. I don't know how PlayStation is selling. Obviously, we don't get those numbers until later on. Steam, the 2-day all-time peak is 4,800. So it's not selling well on Steam. And I know most people probably play on PC playing through Game Pass or in
Sure.
Xbox for sure, or people that have, played it before, they got their upgrade code, they don't feel like jumping back in. So like I don't think that's a good indicator. I think PlayStation really will be the this is where we needed it to sell, and
Yeah,
whether
it's
it
who it's
does or
for at the end of the
yes,
day.
that is who this is for. It's to build a brand new community. But I look at it's a remake, right? Or they call it a remake, but almost feels like more of a remaster. Is Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater Delta,
Hmm.
right? Which that came out. Does that come out today, or does that come out tomorrow officially? Is that even out yet?
That's a good question. I think it's out today.
If it is, I've seen no one talk about it. When does this come out? August 28th.
Yeah, there you
Yes. So Snake Eater is out today. I've seen absolutely nobody talking about this in social spaces. Obviously, reviews went up, and it's reviewing critically quite well. I think it's like an 86 now,
go. Mhm.
87 now, where it was higher, but the reviews have come in. But this is another one of these remasters where people are saying, "Hey, doesn't really hold up in terms of the quality. Like they've made some quality of life improvements, but you can still feel its age. But more so, technically, it's a bit of a mess, right? Like struggles to get 1080, 30. PS5 Pro is having some crazy issue where it's like the worst version of the game to play. Um, it just these two games have very similar timings and very similar issues that I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it. I feel like so you're giving it to the PlayStation community. One, you're hoping it's going to sell based on novelty because it's a major Xbox IP coming over. Two, you want to build up the sort of knowledge of the IP at least a little prior to E-Day. But I don't know, man. I feel like if you're trying to convince a new audience to buy a game in today's day and age, and try to teach them, make them understand why this IP is special. I don't know that a remaster is really going to cut it. And I mean this with all love to Gears. With what is ultimately a pretty basic game,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like it's relatively rudimentary. And I look at something that again, Xbox adjacent team, etc., has done recently, like with Oblivion.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially the same game, but they did far more with it, and did like quality of life, and they implemented new animations and things like this that made it feel a bit more modern. This really does feel like a sort of early noughts kind of game, you know? It does feel
Because
like
at its core, it is.
precisely,
Yeah.
in a
They
way
should
that
have just
Oblivion
put the
remastered.
Ultimate Edition out. I'm
Yeah,
gonna be honest.
and you know, and I know that this would require much more work, and I'm being pedantic here, but I think in retrospect it might have been better again if they just waited for E-Day. I know that they want to sort of seed knowledge of the characters because E-Day might be sort of nostalgia baiting a fair amount and sort
Mm-hmm.
of references, and that's cool, that's great. So you want people to have an understanding, but maybe E-Day with as technically impressive and as modern feeling and as excellent overall as I hope that that game is going to be, that might have been the best foot forward that you can put to convince people and be like, oh, Gears E-Day is amazing. Now I want to experience what the rest of the series is like. Now that might in turn then constitute actually remaking Gears 1.
I would say I think you run the risk if you put E-Day out, and it is as amazing as we all expect it to be. Because I think 4 and 5 are very good games. Even if
Mhm.
5 is probably my least favorite Gears game. Um, I think you run the risk of them playing E-Day and then going back to 1 and it feeling even more dated,
It's true.
feeling even like, oh wow, the compared to what I just played, this is not doing it. Like the amount of features that you had in one game are going to be so much less, even for 2 and 3, right? Like I think that E-Day coming first, then giving those 3 would be a bad idea. But I still don't see how giving 1 then E-Day is any better. I'm very much now in the camp of should have been the remaster, should have been a remastered trilogy. Let everyone experience those games, because I do wonder if this has ultimately hurt their push. And I'm looking at not a remaster, right? But I'm looking at the prisoner exchange that Xbox and PlayStation just had, right, with the Helldivers and Gears. And I gotta say, I think Helldivers is coming out in a much better situation where their player base is booming. It was like at 300,000 or something. Like Xbox players seem to be taking to it very well. I don't know how well it's selling, but assuming the numbers that we've been seeing are correct, it's selling moderately well, I
Yeah.
think. So I think Helldivers has come out on top in this exchange. I don't think Xbox should be looking at this as a win. I think they got some work ahead of them to rectify this situation.
Yeah, I mean, there's a silver lining, even if, Gears, as crazy as it sounds to say, even if Gears of War is being drowned out by Helldivers, there is a silver lining that Helldivers is performing so well and is absorbing so much of the conversation that I think there's less of a harsh overall critical eye on Reloaded than there might have been
I agree.
if there wasn't something to counterbalance. So that's good, I guess, for Xbox. And they still do have a win in this scenario. And I'm sure that Gears again will sell pretty well regardless. So that's another W of sorts. But yeah, like we keep saying, I don't think that they've set themselves up as optimally as they could for long-term success with the IP. And I think you look at something, or at least what is rumored. I know that Carl just mentioned something in the chat about Master Chief Collection. I think that that's why the rumor right now is that Halo Studios is remaking Combat Evolved rather than just releasing the Master Chief Collection, or even even just doing Combat Evolved as it was on PlayStation as a separate purchase. I think that that's why Halo Studios is remaking it, because in the same way, kind of with Gears 1, yeah, you can shine it up and make it look really nice and run pretty well, but at its core, it's a very dated game. And I don't know how much you can remake Combat Evolved and actually change how it feels and how it's structured. I don't know.
Well, you give it Halo Infinite movements that, like, if you add the new movement
Precisely.
styles, it's gonna don't get me wrong, gonna frustrate a lot of hardcore Halo fans.
Yep.
Maybe me included,
Purists.
where I'll be like, yeah, this is. Listen, I've never been a fan of sprinting in Halo.
Master Chief didn't have a grappling hook.
I like the grappling hook. Okay, the grappling hook's dope, but Halo today is a very different feeling than Halo 23 years ago.
Exactly. So I think that is probably, again, in hindsight, what I would have preferred the Coalition do. I know there's the whole like too many remakes. I get it. And what material impact would it have had? Hard to tell. But I think that putting a 15 plus year old game with a new coat of paint on a new platform isn't really helping the IP long term. At least right now, optically, it's not looking as great a W as Gears on PlayStation should be. So we'll see in time.
Yeah. No, like I said, wait for some patches. I think the game will get to where it needs to be. It'll feel as good as the Ultimate Edition, but they could have just released the Ultimate Edition. All right, let's move on from Gears of War Reloaded. We'll go to my topic, because probably a quick one before we get into our Patreon topic. So Xbox this week announced that they are expanding their Xbox Cloud Gaming initiative. You will no longer need to have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to stream cloud games. You can now do it if you have core or standard. No PC apparently though. That's a bit too far. So if you have any of the tiers of Game Pass except the PC tier, you now have access to the Xbox Cloud Gaming. It means you have access to stream it on your phone, on your tablet, on your handheld gaming console. That I assume is part of the reason that they're pushing this out, right? They know the ROG Xbox Ally is coming out. They want to expand it. Well, what if people don't want Ultimate? Let's give them the option to cloud stream console games because, newsflash, despite what people seem to not understand, the ROG Ally does not play your entire Xbox library. So, how are we feeling about Xbox expanding cloud? I will say, speaking of the future of cloud, I have another point to bring up, actually, but I want to get your, what do you think of Xbox expanding their cloud initially?
I mean, it makes sense, right? As a physical purist, diehard, It repulses me that cloud gaming is percolating as much as it is in essence relatively consumer friendly in terms of giving people more options. But I don't like how sort of detached and sort of cold it feels. I am one of those, like, I like owning the games kind of thing, you know. And that's coming from somebody who has to deal with most of the time nowadays digital codes for games that I get through IGN. So, but yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head that they're doing this in advance of the Ally coming out. I think as well, just generally, like the talking points that Xbox is making, it doesn't make much sense for them to push cloud as hard as they are generally in their marketing, and for it to again solely be a benefit of PC and Ultimate, right? So yeah, expand it out, let people on other sub tiers access it. I would say though, I would, you know, I'm not trying to fearmonger, but these new tiers, they're getting added benefits. You know what that justifies?
Oh God, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, price increase.
Price increase. Now that doesn't necessarily have to happen, but I think that any time that a new, and they are framing it as a benefit, a new benefit for these tiers, I think that that can act as a smokescreen that gives them a PR reason to say, hey, the price is going up by a couple of dollars or whatever, but you're getting access to stream your games, you know. And we're trying to make it as seamless and as painless as possible. When you do pick up an Ally, you're going to have as many games from your console library as possible. I would maybe have people brace for that to come, maybe not imminently, but over the next few months, maybe even after the Ally comes out. I don't know if they would want to do it before the Ally comes out, because
I think it would look pretty bad. You're trying to sell a device that you're heavily saying cloud will be your way to play your console games.
yeah,
I think it'd be a pretty bad move to raise it. I didn't even think about the price increase, but I think that's a completely fair point that this now gives them the justification that, to be fair, they probably didn't need, but now can use to say, hey, we're going to raise standard, we're going to raise core, which core right now is just Xbox Live. So, I mean, I think this is a valuable benefit. Don't get me wrong. As someone that isn't even into cloud streaming, I do wish that it was just across all tiers. Like, I do wish PC Game Pass had cloud streaming as well. Because when I'm looking at this and I'm thinking about the future of Xbox and the future of cloud gaming, right? Like, Xbox's hardware isn't going away yet. I do think there is a future, maybe after next generation, where either Xbox has bespoke third-party hardware manufacturers making hardware for them. But this does almost feel like, hey, we need to give people a cheaper option to access their console games in case the console goes away. And my whole dream and idea since forever now, I talked about on X Talk, since they started talking about this multi-platform approach, PC, console, handheld, was to have a unified library, something that you boot into. It's an OS, automatically can play your console games natively, can play your PC games natively, runs across PC, the new Xbox console, the new Xbox proprietary handheld, right?
Yeah.
I'm now starting to get worried that maybe that isn't a technical reality, and this is their solution to say, hey, we're going to work to get all of the games available to be cloud streamed. And that's how you will access your console games you currently own when the hardware inevitably does go away. And that's not a great solution to me. And I've kind of been feeling like that for a while now, which is why I've been slowly rebuilding my Xbox library through Steam sales, Fanatic, like picking up, this is $3, I'll grab that. This is $3, I'll grab that. So like I've I've got a chunk already taken care of, but there's still a lot of games that I'm working towards that will take years, because I'm not rebuying all these at full price, right? But like, I guess this is a good intermediate solution if I did want to go back and say, hey, I want access to that right now. If I have this Game Pass tier, I'll stream it. But I have PC Game Pass right now and can't do that. So expanded all tiers, introduce a cloud only tier. I still think that's coming. I will say cloud only tier, maybe an ad supported one. Like, I think the Game Pass tiers are about to go crazy in the next few years.
Yeah, it's interesting that they aren't doing it with PC. I guess, do you think it's because the fact that PC is so much cheaper than Ultimate, and it has essentially every benefit of Ultimate, that if they put in the cloud streaming, I mean, it probably is also at least partially that the tech might not be in place yet. But do you think there is any hesitance on their side that how can they justify PC Game Pass being so low comparatively if they put in another benefit like cloud streaming, assuming the tech was in place? Do you think that's something they consider?
I do. I certainly think that they're still very much in the mindset of, hey, PC adoption is
Yeah.
something they're striving for. So they want to keep PC Game Pass as cheap as possible. And adding this benefit to the PC Game Pass tier might push it a little bit in terms of keeping their costs, because they got to pay for the server blades. I know they've
Yeah.
been working on upgrading those types of things, which I don't like paying for cloud streaming. I feel like that should just be something, when I get my license, I should be able to cloud stream it. But I understand that's not the reality we work in. So I think right now they really are, the PC handhelds coming out. They want people on PC getting into Game Pass, growing, like getting in their ecosystem. So they're really not trying to mess with that.
Yeah. Fair. I mean, as much as I can decry the idea of cloud gaming, like, it's inevitable, right? Where we're heading towards that in a sizable way. I don't think it will completely dominate and sort of consume every other aspect of the industry. I still think that maybe it's copium, that physical will persist in some form, which is all that I can hope for. But I accept that it is becoming a niche part of the market. Although, vinyl came back. So I think maybe if we just hold out long enough, physical games can become the new chic thing again.
So the other part of cloud gaming I want to talk about is what PlayStation has been doing.
Hmm.
And I don't know if people have been paying attention, because they don't really they don't really advertise this much, but for games I buy over there, they just give me the option to stream them.
Yeah.
And apparently that's not, I thought that was tied to PS Plus. I've been told otherwise. Do you know if that's accurate?
I can't.
Because I know the PS3 and like the PS4,
Sure.
like PS Plus streaming, but like I have, say, a Plague Tale Requiem or installed on my console, or I
Mm,
get or purchased on my console, I should say. It says download or you can stream it, sort of like what xCloud does on your console. And I'm seeing this for a lot of my library over there. So I feel like PlayStation knows not as wide reaching in terms of, hey, you could do it on all these devices, because I don't think you can do it on your phone and a tablet and all this stuff. But in terms of getting your own games streamable on their hardware, I feel like they're just letting everybody do it.
Yeah, I mean, there there is surprisingly conflicting information as I'm doing a preliminary Google, but I feel like, particularly with the push for cloud streaming with the portal, I feel like I remember seeing something mentioning, it might not even have been that recent, so I don't take me for gospel, but I feel like I'm confident that I've seen things on the PlayStation Store that, again, like you said, aren't connected to PlayStation Plus that you can purchase and then directly stream without having to download anything. So, but again, they don't talk about it, or
They
if they
don't.
are talking about it, where
Nobody's paying. Nobody's paying attention.
So, yeah, everyone's doing it, and I'll be interested to see just how hard PlayStation push into that, especially as we get to when they announce their own handheld and things like that. If there is a lower end SKU for next gen,
Well,
I imagine.
So the rumors we're getting, right, is their handheld's going to be native playing, like
Yeah.
modern console games, which
Yep.
I think gives them a big step up in terms of consumers actually adopting it, because I still think there is a stigma around, oh, it can only stream game. Like, I still think most gamers want their games natively.
Yeah, I mean, because streaming is in an ideal world, streaming would be perfect and seamless, but you are so stringent and reliant on stable internet connections, and yes, you can theoretically stream anywhere you want on the go, but your performance and your experience will vary greatly depending on where you live, where you're going, where you are. So outside of like 5G being everywhere, which it isn't, and won't be for quite some time, natively is inherently the better option. Some might say natively is the better option just permanently, and it will always be that way. But streaming might get to a point where it is comparable to a native experience, which I think is the best we can hope for. So, yeah, it'd be. I assume, regardless of what the next PlayStation stuff can or can't do, they'll be pushing further and further into cloud, regardless. Because I don't think they want to cede that much space to Microsoft in that field.
I wonder when Nintendo enters the cloud streaming.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And what that looks like for them, because I feel like the Switch is kind of like made for, like, they don't even need to have a new proprietary handheld, right? Like, just enable cloud streaming on. And I know some games are cloud stream, but it's not like Nintendo tech, right? Like, that is the developer being like, this is a cloud version of the game, right? Like, they're sending it to you. So I want to know what Nintendo's own, like, hey, this is our NSO streaming platform looks like. I see Nissa says, I don't mind streaming except when I'm out in the community. Handhelds need a SIM card option, which I've also heard from other people that they want, like their ROG Ally, they want their Steam Deck, they want to be able to pop a SIM card in, right? And just have access to the data plan to stream games. But I don't know whether that's something that ever happens. I don't know how data carriers would feel about that, but yeah, Silken it. Nintendo already did with RE4. That's what I was talking about. I know like a Plague Tale and Control, I think my understanding is those are from the publisher, though. Like, they're pushing the data to the Switch as a cloud instead of Nintendo having their own cloud sort of infrastructure.
Yeah. But I think the SIM card thing is interesting as well, because I wouldn't be able to trust myself with it, where I would just burn through my plan. That's the risky thing of, like, you as a consumer would have to have so much
You got unlimited
restraint.
data plans in the UK?
I mean, yeah, but again, not everybody's going to have those. So
I don't have one.
Exactly. You can't talk.
I got 5 gigabytes. I burned through that very quickly.
Exactly. So I can only imagine what streaming, next gen or even current gen games would do to a data plan. So yeah, I think that might be good as like an option, but I also think that is opening up some potential risks there on the consumer side. So
For sure. All right. Well, I think we've talked about cloud enough. So why don't we jump into our final topic? And this comes from patreon.com/save the game media. Like I said, you can go support us over there. You can write in every week and have your topic featured on the show. Everyone else will be saved for our bonus episode that we will do in the following month. Well, the month we're in, not this month, September. We already did this month. Okay. So we got a few questions. Silking It and Marcus O'Neill actually wrote in with the same question.
whoa.
So they're going to both be our topic this week. Marcus O'Neill wrote first, said, thoughts on indie developers delaying their games to get out of the way of Hollow Knight. Shrewd move or an overreaction? And do you feel that Hollow Knight owed fellow indie developers the courtesy of more heads up on their release date? Silking It then followed with the 2-week notice of Silksong. Indie games are understandably pushing their release dates around. I read an article saying that Team Cherry, with their big fan base, had great power, implying they have the responsibility that comes with it, and they maybe should have given more time. I can understand the frustration of such quick notice, but I can also see Team Cherry's side. I'm very hyped for Silksong, but more than 2 to 3 weeks for the date, and I would have doubted them still. And even with a 3-month look ahead, other games would have taken the brunt of it. What's your opinion on it? Do they really have a responsibility vis-a-vis other indie games? So 2 questions here, really. What do we think about indie developers kind of getting out of the way of Silksong? And did Team Cherry owe other indie developers more of a notice?
So for the first part of the question, I think I could understand a number of titles moving, but there has been, at least optically, some kind of like exodus of that release date, which I think is a little over the top. I said in Discord when I think it was Baby Steps that got announced, that got delayed. I'm like, okay, this is getting a little silly now. And I know that there is like inadvertently some clever sort of meme marketing potential there of, if you're a game that then jumps on the bandwagon of delaying your game because of Silksong, people are going to be talking about your game getting delayed because of Silksong. So then you have more people talking about your game. But I still think that regardless of that fact, which may have played a factor, not everything has to move. I know it wasn't the same day, but you had Oblivion and Clair Obscur, right? Earlier this year come out. Was it the day after?
No, it's 2
Or
days
like
apart.
2 days, 2 days. So I think that if you can have that kind of thing happen, and obviously those two are demonstrably different than Silksong and a smaller indie, granted. But I think it's proof that games, again, that are most of these games delaying, as far as I can tell, aren't even the same genre as Silksong. So I think they would have been fine. I could understand maybe 1 or 2 moving, but it is strange that they're all vacating that area around Silksong's release. In terms of the second part of the question, I'm of 2 minds, because I think in a way Team Cherry kind of pinned themselves in a corner where I know Silken It was kind of like making a bit of a joke with their point, but when they came out and showed Silksong and talked about it and gave a date, I think they kind of did have to pull the trigger relatively quickly. For consumer confidence, but also like it's a meme at this point. And I think that a way to people a way to get people excited about the game coming out and to build up that hype is to have it being, that narrow of a window. But inadvertently, that does mean that a number of teams that had marketing plans and rollout plans got a little bit screwed over. And I think that inevitably, because of how talked about Silksong is, Team Cherry do have comparatively a greater pull and sort of power in this dynamic. And I think that unfair is I think that's too strong of a word, because it's business, right? Like, they don't owe anybody anything, I don't think. I think that there is a courtesy that could have been done where the window didn't have to be quite as narrow, in my opinion. But when you're talking about maybe it being a 3 or 4 week window instead of a 2-week window, how much difference is that actively going to make? And again, I think it goes back to the idea of it's not as much on Team Cherry as it is the other devs having faith in their game and sticking to their guns and, maybe riding the coattails a little bit of, instead of delaying the game, going, well, our game's coming out the day after or the day of or the day before Silksong, and using that as a marketing beat rather than delaying it, trying to ensure that you aren't getting absorbed. So it's a messy situation. I can't say that I really have any sort of anger or disappointment towards Team Cherry. I think that this was a difficult tightrope to walk across because of all the factors playing in, of how anticipated Silksong has been, how long the wait has been, the meme of it all. Yeah.
So I agree with a lot of your talking points. I genuinely think that there has been a massive overreaction to this from the indie developer community, and I get it somewhat from their standpoint, where they want to give your game the best possible chance of success, right? But the window that you're moving into is still just as crowded as the window you left. And in some cases, it might be worse depending on the genre of game. So it's not as simple to me as say, oh, we're an indie dev, they're an indie dev. Only people that buy indie games would be interested in our game, right? Like, I don't look at games that way. I don't look at studios that way. I don't go out and say, oh, I want an indie game right now. I want a JRPG. I want a Metroidvania. I want a genre of title of game. And then you can see what's available in the AAA space, the AA space, the indie space. So when I'm looking at games like some of these I've never heard of, I know Eterna Lucis from Eternum Game Studios has said they're delaying their game into 2026 because of Silksong. I mean this with the utmost respect. I do not think Silksong would have harmed your game in any meaningful way, just based on the fact that most people probably have never heard of it. And I'm not trying to be rude. It's just a simple fact that there's so many games out there from so many developers, big and small, that it's impossible to know every single game that's coming out. And then we get Demon School, which is a more notable title, I think. It's been at a few Nintendo Directs. It's got some people from Shin Megami Tensei developers. It's a JRPG. Like, this one I've heard talked about for a while now. That was set to come out the September 3rd, I think. They're now saying, hey, we're going to delay because of Hollow Knight Silksong to November, which November is, I think, less crowded than September overall. But are we really saying that people that are looking for Silksong are also looking for your indie JRPG? And I'm not saying there isn't overlap there, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's big enough that you can say our game would succeed or fail based on that overlap. They're acting like everyone, and Baby Steps was the most absurd one, right? Like, first of all, I think your game looks horrible. I know you disagree. I know you disagree, Sam.
Game of the year.
No, but I just genuinely struggle to see where these developers think every single person is going to be playing Silksong. It's just not the case because we see plenty of games holding strong. Like Hell Is Us comes out the same day, I think. Chronos: The New Dawn is like, yeah, we're sticking. Different genres, different style of game, different publishers, different, like, you got to believe in your game at a certain point to say, hey, we're you're basically saying we're not as good as Silksong. That's how I'm reading it, and it makes me kind of less interested in your game because it makes me feel like you doubt your game. You don't believe in the quality of your game. And I know there's a whole list of things that go into these decisions. Again, want to give your game the best possible chance, but optically, it does look so dumb to me.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel. Like I just look at it because people have been comparing this to GTA 6, right?
Which is like,
And I'm like, Hollow Knight Silksong is not GTA 6. GTA 5 has sold like 200 million copies. I think Hollow Knight did 15,
they
which
did.
is phenomenal.
Mhm.
Most games would love to sell 15, but to act like Hollow Knight Silksong is GTA 6 and every other game needs to get out of the way or you're going to get buried and die. I think it's a simple overreaction. I think it's blowing the meme and the hype way out of proportion.
Yeah, I don't see it. And they're saying like it's the GTA 6 of indies. I'm like, I get what you mean in terms of like people talking. Like, I think Silksong is probably the most talked about indie. Fair. But it's not going to have the same impact as a GTA 6 on the market. If these games were all moving because they were right next to GTA 6, I'd be like, oh yeah, no duh.
Yeah.
But Silksong is going to have a big impact, no doubt. Like a lot of people are going to be playing it, a lot of people will talk about it. It will absorb a lot of the discussion, I think. But in terms of like coverage, I don't think on a widespread level it's going to affect. It would have affected these other games. You know, coming from someone who does like guides at IGN, if let's say Baby Steps came out the same day as Silksong, that wouldn't affect what coverage Baby Steps got. Now, granted, that might still mean that an article or a guides page for Silksong goes live at the same time, or just after a page for Baby Steps goes live, and Baby Steps gets less viewership because of that. But that's no different to any other two games.
Any other game, yes.
Like one is inherently going to have priority. And I would also say that, like, you know, you said Demon School going into November. Okay, but like people over the next couple of months are still going to be playing Silksong.
People are going to be waiting for sales.
And you're going to be going into Borderlands 4, which is going to have a lot of conversation and coverage and articles and things like that. And even the smaller stuff of Hell Is Us, and you're about to get Lost Soul Aside. And it's like, I understand the impetus, like the inherent, like split second go like, we can't be around Silksong. But I think if you critically look at it and actually what would pan out if you did or didn't move, I think that most of these teams didn't have to do anything at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that you would have been massively affected. You may have lost some sales. You may have not been affected at all because the people interested in your game might not be interested in Silk. So, like, you never know. It just comes across to me like you don't believe. And I see Kyle in the chat saying, honestly, I think a lot of these smaller games just trying to use Silksong's name to bring attention to themselves.
Yeah, exactly what I said. Yeah.
Which is what you were saying. It's certainly for some of the games I've never heard of. And I see Silken that says, I want Silksong and Demon School. I know. I said
there are
you
dozens
exist.
of you.
Yeah. But seriously though, like, is Borderlands 4 sitting there like, oh, gotta get out of the way of Silksong? Like, you know how many copies Borderlands has sold? You know how valuable Borderlands is as an IP? Like, and that's just one game. There's the next few weeks have too many games to play for the rest of the year, let alone the actual rest of the year that where you're like, oh my God, we got this one game is going to affect us. So that one game is going to turn into another game in November. It's going to turn into another game in 2026. That's just how I feel. And I will say, this just reminds me, Devolver Digital has been saying they're going to release a game the same day GTA 6. Props to you. Props to you, Devolver.
Yeah. I mean, I would also say, like, my mind jumps to something like Avowed, where they had a release in, like, what was it, October or something,
It
meant
was
to
going
be
to be
last year?
November. It was going to be November.
And then they delayed it to the beginning of this year. And they made a joke
moved
about
it worse.
Exactly. They moved it, and they were saying, like, we want to make space for your backlogs, and obviously we'll get more time to polish the game. And they put it in a worse slot.
Yeah. Kingdom Come 2 came out and totally ate its lunch.
Precisely. And like granted, like with Demon School as an example, November seems quite light now, but what happens if something comes along and you know what I mean? Like, we're going to be getting a direct soon.
A State of Play and a Nintendo Direct are both good. Like, we still have games that need to be announced and for this year, like Metroid Prime 4.
Metroid Prime 4
needs a date. Hyrule Warrior still needs a date. Apparently that Splatoon spinoff needs a date still. That's coming out this year. Like, there's still big titles that are going to fill in November and December for the rest of the year. So I just don't see how they think that this somehow saves them from some sort of onslaught where now they're going to get tons of coverage.
Yeah. So like I get it, and I feel bad for the devs, sort of obviously very flustered and sort of running around with like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to figure out exactly what to do and what's best for them. Like, I don't envy their positions, but I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, like we've said, it wouldn't have really affected them that badly. I don't think. Maybe we're wrong and we'll eat our words, but I can't see that being the case.
Hades 2 needs a release date still. They need their full
There
launch. And that's another giant indie game. All right. Just to round out the thought process, answer both their questions. Did Team Cherry owe these developers more time to prepare? Absolutely not. This is capitalism. All right. This is how it's a dog world out there. All right. It doesn't matter what other teams are doing. It matters what you're doing. Build the best product you can do. Team Cherry could have been like, we're shadow dropping it today. We're releasing on May 26, 2020. Like, they could have done that. They could do whatever they want. They don't owe anybody anything. They're doing what's best for them as a company, and that's all that matters to them. That's all that should matter to them. It's not like the indie developers all get together and like sing Kumbaya together. They're not like a giant big happy family. They're business people doing business things. They can collaborate together. They can do what's right for them as a company. Like, you see Dave the Diver, right? Like, had a bunch of crossovers. They've done all this stuff. That's because it makes sense business wise for them to do it. They're not sitting there like, oh, Balatro. You think Balatro is making all these collabs because they just love everyone so much? No, it's to get people to play and buy Balatro. So
Yep.
That's really all I have to say on the matter. I think everyone's overreacting. Stop delaying your games. Believe in your product if you're making a good product.
Amen.
All right. Well, that will do it for this episode then. We'll end it on that note. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us in the live chat. Sam, you want to let everyone know where they can find you, my friend?
Yes. People can find me anywhere and everywhere at Sam Heaney, Heaney.
And you can find me at the Muffin Mon everywhere. It's a 1-7I, 0-7A. Follow us at Save the Game Media over on Blue Sky to stay up to date with all of our latest content. Until next week, we will see you.